I'm old enough to remember a time when Democrats were paralyzed with fear about Russia. In fact, most toddlers are old enough as well. Democrats, for obvious political reasons, once pretended to consider Russia the greatest threat to our national security. And of course, Donald Trump was their asset. That's why we had to get rid of Trump at all costs. He was a Russian asset, a secret agent. The Kremlin owned him. It was a spy book come to life. Trump was secretly working to destroy America with Vladimir Putin's approval. In fact, Trump wasn't even a legitimate president. He colluded with Putin to steal the election. For years, it was all the Democrats and the media could talk about.
Donald Trump is an unwitting agent of Russia's Vladimir Putin.
There was collusion between the Trump campaign and Putin.
The possibility of collusion between the Russian government and the Trump campaign.
Whether there was collusion between President Trump's campaign and the Russians.
Whether Donald Trump himself is just a puppet for the Kremlin.
Bah, bah, bah. All day, every day. Of course, it was all BS, a total embarrassing joke. And to this day, Adam Schiff still says he was right, and most Democrats still believe that storyline. They do. They really do. And even after the investigation into it flopped, Democrats didn't stop saying it because the media protected them from the pain they should have endured for such a cynical and disgusting, obvious political lie. And frankly, the media had embraced it as well, so they protected Democrats and themselves by just acting like it kind of was true even though it wasn't. Joe Biden relished in attacking Trump on Russia even after the report came out. He took the chance in both debates to spew a total garbage lie, knowing again he would be protected by the liberal media.
The fact is that I've gone head to head with Putin and made it clear to him we're not going to take any of his stuff. He's Putin's puppy. I don't understand why this president is unwilling to take on Putin when he's actually paying bounties to kill American soldiers in Afghanistan, when he's engaged in activities that are trying to destabilize all of NATO. I don't know why he doesn't do it.
Bumbling old fool. We now know the bounty story was fake, and so were most of the rest of the comments that Biden made in those two debates. Biden likes to pretend that he's a lot of things. That's what he's good at. He pretends he's Scranton Joe. He pretends he identifies with real Americans. He pretends he's a fighter for racial equity. He pretends he knows what the hell he's talking about half the time. It's all make-believe. Biden is a phony. He identifies with nobody except D.C. insiders. He's never really worked a day in his life. He's made some of the most hilariously racist comments of anybody currently working in Washington. And he doesn't even really realize what's happening inside this White House, as evidenced by the full-blown left-wing agenda he's not even aware is happening. Biden also pretends to be tough on Russia and Putin. Take a listen to this.
I wasn't being a wise guy. I was alone with him in his office. That's how it came about. It was when President Bush had said, I've looked in his eyes and saw a soul. I said, looked in your eyes, and I don't think you have a soul. And looked back at me and said, we understand each other.
Now, we don't know, but Biden does lie constantly, a known plagiarist. I'll bet you a steak dinner that moment probably never even happened. And now that Joe Biden finally lied his way into the White House after trying for almost 50 years, we're going to watch him completely embarrass himself on Russia. The White House has given a beautiful gift to Russia, arguably the best gift Russia could give, or Russia could receive from the United States. Biden, right before our eyes, is doing exactly what Democrats said Trump would do, except Trump never did it. The hilarious irony of all this. Earlier today, Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with the man who has his job in Russia, Sergei Lavrov. And to set the stage before the meeting and show just how spineless this new White House is, Biden announced he would be waiving the sanctions that Trump placed on the Nord Stream 2 pipeline running from Germany to Russia. Literally, just weeks after a Russian group hacked an American pipeline, the Colonial, a group that any serious intelligence analyst knows was tied to Putin and the Russian government. Biden really proving just how tough he's going to be on Putin, like he did in those debates, right? I'm going to go toe-to-toe with Putin. He's his puppy. What a joke. Politics. What an embarrassing joke. And a classic liberal move, to be honest. Give a massive gift to your enemy right before talks to show good faith, and then never learn your lesson when it doesn't work. Welcome to liberal politics in the United States. The Obama administration was famous for this. Want to make a nuclear deal with Iran, a country that wants us to die? Let's send them pallets of cash first. Show them how kind we are and how keen we are to make a deal. Great negotiating skills, by the way. But what do you expect from people who don't know how to do anything except campaign and lobby? Not much. The Iran deal was a disaster, and this administration's foreign policy will be as well. It'll feel like another Obama term. That's what all the Democrats wanted, right? Remember, before Obama's second election, he said this to Russian President Medvedev about missile defense negotiations. Take a look.
Much space for you. Yeah.
After my election, I have more flexibility.
Yeah, I understand. I transmit this information to Vladimir and stand with me.
Transmit this information to Vladimir. We thank you so much for laying down like a dog for us. Gone are the days of speak softly and carry a big stick. Now it's talk tough on the campaign trail and then let the world walk all over you after you win. Traditional American politics is back. Let's take you back to the Russian asset himself, talking about the Russian pipeline.
I think it's very sad when Germany makes a massive oil and gas deal with Russia, where you're supposed to be guarding against Russia, and Germany goes out and pays billions and billions of dollars a year to Russia. But Germany is totally controlled by Russia. I think Germany is making a tremendous mistake by relying so heavily on the pipeline.
God, I miss it. I miss common sense. I really do. And what a horrible Russian asset Trump was. I mean, he was a really bad Russian asset. Definitely Putin's worst asset. A horrible, horrible asset and investment, wasn't he? And by the way, why does Biden only like foreign pipelines? One of his first acts as president was canceling the Keystone XL pipeline here in this country. Kind of like the Paris Climate Accords, I guess. It's okay if the rest of the world uses fossil fuels, just as long as we don't do it here, so that we can all pretend like we're doing the right thing and all the liberals can act like everything's okay as they drive around in their Priuses and feel good about it. And that brings us to today's events. Blinken and Lavrov in Iceland, Russia versus the United States. This is the first meeting since Biden took office. Here's how it got started.
We seek a predictable, stable relationship with Russia. We think that's good for our people, good for the Russian people, and indeed good for the world.
Our tiny beta male Secretary of State. It'll be very predictable, sir, if you keep acting like this. And to be fair, we do have to show you this. Here was Blinken at least trying to act tough.
It's also no secret that we have our differences. And when it comes to those differences, as President Biden has also shared with President Putin, if Russia acts aggressively against us, our partners, our allies, we'll respond.
Shake it in their boots. We're the Russians. That's a lie, though, what he just said. They just had a chance to respond to the Colonial Pipeline hack, and they helped Russia deny involvement instead. It's unbelievable. Trump is gone, and Putin expects America to be run by the spineless bureaucrats he enjoyed during the Obama years. And congratulations, Mr. Putin, you will get your wish.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.